All right, and we are live. Hi, everyone. My name is Lily McIntyre, and I'm Wasabi's marketing coordinator. And today I'm here with Drew Schlussel, who is Wasabi's senior director of technical product marketing. How you doing today, Drew?
Fantastic, Lily. Can't wait.
Back on the live. If you guys remember, Drew was our first LinkedIn Lives guest, so we're so happy to have him back. But today we're here to chat about Wasabi and Veeam, cue Drew's mug, their newest v12 release of their flagship backup and recovery product, and it has so many different features. And this release from Veeam signals a significant shift in the importance of cloud object storage, as Drew knows very, very well. So, without further ado, let's just get into it. So, Drew, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you know so much about data protection?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So been doing this a while.
Mhm.
I've got the gray chin beards to prove it, I guess. No deference to the gray beards. That's a separate podcast. Love those guys. Um, but yeah, been working in data storage for a long time. I mean, not like Babylonian times, like stone tablets, but um, ever
So
since there's
significant time.
yeah. I had a CTO who loved to talk about like clay tablets as the first form of data storage. I always thought that was
Oh,
kind of
wow.
cool.
I never
Shout,
thought of it that way before. That's interesting.
shout out to Brian Carmody. Um, but yeah, if you've been in this business a while, and I have, you've seen just incredible advances in technology, incredible changes in preferences. And of course, the cloud is probably the latest, greatest, innovation when it comes to storage. Um, and it's again, changing the landscape and changing attitudes. Absolutely love what Veeam has done with this latest release, because to me, it signals a significant change in attitude towards something that we at Wasabi, hold near and dear, and that's object storage.
Right. So, for all of the viewers who are watching who are unfamiliar with the V12 release, can you just go into some detail and give a general overview of what's changed and why we should care about the V12 release, especially towards like a Wasabi perspective?
Yeah. Well, I'll actually. I know we're in no rush today, so let me give a little history lesson,
Please do.
just a little
Take
one,
the floor.
right? So once upon a time, there was block storage, and it was good, but it was pretty complicated to use. Um, it delivered lots of great performance, especially for databases, but you really had to be a very sharp developer to to use block storage. Then came along file systems, and file systems made it a lot easier to store data. That's what we're accustomed to on our desktops, our laptops, right? We've got files and folders, and we have this mental map of where we're storing things. And when we can't find them, right, we go to the search bar,
Right.
right? And then came the internet, and along with that came object storage, which made it infinitely easier to store and find things because you have a flat file space. Everything goes into a bucket. Everything has a unique ID. You just, tell the system, give me this file, and you get it. You don't have to know, which folder within a folder within a folder you put it in. I don't know about you, but that always, confuses me. Like, where the heck did I put that thing?
Simple is always better.
Absolutely. And this is why app developers, especially cloud app developers, love object storage. Now, there's differences in performance throughout this continuum of the evolution of storage. But what's happened is that in recent years, object storage has gotten better, faster. And because of that, right? And I want to believe because of that, Veeam has said, you know what, this is now at a point where we can put more time and effort into storing backups primarily in object storage. It doesn't have to be, in hardware, on-prem, in a file system first and foremost, and then put a copy into object. We can use object directly. And there's huge advantages. I'm going to take a sip while you ask me what those are.
So, Drew, what are those advantages?
I'm so glad you asked, Lily. First and foremost, it's got to be immutability, right? We've been talking about that for a couple of years now. I know I have. And immutability, if you don't already know, right, that is locking down your data set, right, in terms of a set of objects. And by locking it down, that means that nobody can delete it, nobody can or change it. And specifically, in terms of changing it, nobody can encrypt it, right? And what does that mean? That means that you now have a better defense against ransomware. Unfortunately, the truth is that on-prem file systems are probably friends at Dell, don't take any offense, or NetApp, but those systems are probably a little bit more susceptible to hacks and cyber attacks, because once you have admin access to those file-based systems, it's that much easier to encrypt those systems.
Right.
Right.
So something that I know we all at Wasabi are really excited about is the direct to cloud benefit. So could you just dig a little bit deeper on what that specifically means for customers? And you mentioned on-prem storage. So can they bypass that to get to that direct to cloud feature?
They can certainly bypass it. And this is where, we probably need to sit down with, some of the industry pundits and open a good bottle of bourbon, right? and have the conversation, because should everybody go direct to cloud? No. Large enterprises, right? Fortune 1000 companies, right? Where, their recovery time objectives and their recovery point objectives are measured in milliseconds. They cannot go direct to cloud, right? The latency, the time to recover that data is too great. Right? They have, in fact, they don't even, they're not really even dependent on backups anymore. They're running redundant systems. They just fail over from one to another and then fail back later. Right. That's the beauty of a distributed architecture, distributed systems. We're really talking about the other end of the spectrum. We're talking about the SMBs, the small to medium sized businesses, and the small to medium sized enterprises. These are the folks that are running a few virtual machines, a couple of databases, and they're running these things at a fairly small scale.
Right.
So economically, they really just can't afford to run, highly redundant systems, because the reality is, if they're offline for a couple of hours, it's not really the end of the world. It hurts. And there's, people panic and freak out. But the reality is you're probably going to be okay as long as you have good immutable backups. And again, economically, it probably is going to make more sense to leverage the economics of cloud storage, at least Wasabi cloud storage. Right. We'll do an aside in a moment on what that means, right?
You beat me to it. I was just going to ask about the economic side of things, but we can get to that in a second.
Yeah, we'll get to that. It probably is going to make more sense for them to leverage cloud storage, use a predictable priced cloud storage, aka Wasabi, and forego what I call the hardware hamster wheel, or the hardware treadmill that a lot of folks get on. Yeah. So if anybody's not familiar with the term treadmill, if you're training for the Boston Marathon in New England, unless you really love running in the rain and the snow, a lot of folks get on the treadmill for the duration of the winter, maybe a couple months. And after a few months on that treadmill, they refer to it as the dreadmill, because they don't want to get on it. they definitely want to get off it. And I use that metaphor because that's what happens with storage hardware for the most part. You get on it, you have to, you don't have much of a choice. And getting off is painful, or you want to get off because you're paying too much in service and support fees. You're paying too much in migration fees when the next version of that hardware comes out. Your capacity is always, in question. You're constantly running reports to determine, am I going to run out of capacity this week?
Right.
We talked, during our prep yesterday, we talked about the reality of, getting that error message after, a multi-hour backup, the monthly full or the weekly full or whatever it could be. Right. And you get that message that says, oh, sorry, you're out of capacity. Try again later. That doesn't go over very well.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, but what we love about V12 is it offers not even the best of both worlds. It's like the best of all worlds. It's like
Absolutely.
the predictable pricing, the security, which I'm not sure if you've heard about the ransomware attack in the city of Oakland, but that's just a prime example. Like the ransomware plague is not going away anytime soon. So back up your data, make sure it's immutable, and then move on with your day. And I think that really can't be understated. But besides those, are there any other new features of V12 that you want to talk about?
Well, of course.
Oh,
I mean, so besides the fact that you can go direct to object or direct to cloud object, you also now have the ability to back up your NAS systems, your network attached storage. You can back that up directly to cloud. Now, some folks will say, well, you're talking about a lot of storage there, Drew. Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to take you some time to get that initial full backup done. But once you do, I think if you do the math, you'll see that, at $5.99 a terabyte per month, nothing is going to beat what you can do with Wasabi Cloud Storage as a NAS backup target. And the fact is, you're not going to run out of capacity. You're not going to have to, again, get on that hardware treadmill and every 3-4 years, go out and refresh your hardware. So it'll be interesting to see. And again, I think this is biased towards, folks with perhaps smaller NAS systems, right? There's a lot of folks out there with QNAP and Synology systems that would love to have a backup copy in the cloud and make it immutable, right? Protect that data.
Yeah.
Because that's what it comes down to. It's the city of Oakland's very unfortunate. I suspect, like in other cases, right, they were probably breached months ago. And, the hackers got everything they wanted. And now they're just trying to extract maximum ransom from the situation. Not to get too geeky, but, NIST and CISA, right? If you're not already keeping up with their basic guidance, right, they first and foremost say to protect against ransomware, the very first thing you need to do is have an immutable backup of your data.
Right.
Right. And of course, in my opinion, the easiest way to do that, use Wasabi. In addition to NAS backups, there is also endpoint backups available through V12, and endpoints being your laptops and your desktops. This is something I think that our MSP partners will love, especially our VCSP partners, which are the Veeam certified service providers, because now they have an easy to offer service to their customers. And they can, of course, in turn, leverage Wasabi Cloud Storage for the economics and back up, all the laptops at the schools, at the city hall, at whatever, their customer base is, and know that those backups are safe and secure.
And also, if you're an MSP and you're using Wasabi and Veeam, it's just like Wasabi and Veeam are just so easy and like seamlessly integrated to use together. So for an MSP, when you're managing multiple accounts at once, that's a huge benefit.
I'm glad you bring that up because we also have our account management toolkit,
Wow.
And yeah, we've got our Wasabi account control manager. So very easy for MSPs, VCSPs to manage sub accounts and create buckets. Turn on immutability, manage keys, reissue keys. We have an entire ecosystem, right? We're not just a beautiful face of cloud storage, right? We've got a whole ecosystem behind the scenes to make it easy for service providers to manage cloud storage as part of their larger overall offering.
Yes.
And we like to remind folks about that. We also, if you are ever curious, like, could you, perhaps white label Wasabi as part of an MSP offering? Drop us a line, send something to sales. We've got something cooking. We'd love to tell you more about it. So, just check in on that. The one thing we didn't cover, which is probably, most exciting for Wasabians.
I was gonna ask you this next. You're
Oh,
beating.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me back up. Hey, Lily. So what else you got in mind?
Well, before I say that, I just want to mention if you do want to reach out to sales, just use the email address sales@wasabi.com and people will respond to you. So now moving into what we were going to cover next. We here at Wasabi, we know we're a big deal. Obviously, you're wearing the merch. We're like, we know that. But there's one particular new feature in the V12 release that the world should definitely know about. Wink, wink. It's the drop down menu. So, Drew, tell us about the drop down menu and why we're so excited about it.
I don't even know if excited's the word. I want to say stoked.
Okay.
Um, because and this actually applies not only to Veeam Backup and Replication V12, but Veeam also dropped their new version V7 of Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365.
Mm,
And in both versions of these, when you are looking at the drop down of cloud storage service providers, we've come out from behind the curtain, if you will, and instead of falling into that S3 other category where we were for quite a while, we are now listed as one of the primary cloud storage service providers. So you have the other guys and the other folks and them, and then Wasabi. And
we're in the big
so
leagues now.
absolutely, and it makes it really easy to select Wasabi. Makes it easy to use any of the Wasabi regions, any of the 13 vaults globally where you want to store your backups. And yeah, it's great being a named vendor. We appreciate the recognition from our friends at Veeam. Thank you, to Anton and Rick and all the folks who work in the product strategy team. I think it's a recognition that we bring, tremendous value to the Veeam solution, and at the same time, make it easier for Veeam to do business with their customers.
It's awesome. So one thing that I'm curious about, do you mind elaborating a little more on the Microsoft 365 update that Veeam just released as well?
Yeah, that one. I mean, VBM, as I referred to it, they've been doing direct to object for a while now.
Yeah,
I think probably the biggest switch or the biggest change in this version is the fact that they've added immutability. So now not only can you bypass hardware and go straight to cloud object, but you can also employ the immutability features so that your VBM backups in SharePoint and Teams and um, OneDrive, all of that can be protected with immutability, which is important because a lot of folks who use, and there's millions who use Microsoft 365, a lot of the content that they're storing falls under compliance, regulatory compliance control.
got it.
And so there are times when they'll receive, an inquiry and they have to produce material uh, that meets, whether it's HIPAA or GDPR or FINRA or SEC. They've got to make sure that what they're keeping, and this is typically like 7 years plus, right, is has full integrity, right? There's no evidence of tampering or anybody messing with it. So employing that immutability, not just for data protection, but also for compliance, it just got a lot easier using Veeam and Wasabi for that.
Which is great. And I know, Drew, we've been talking about a lot of technical stuff. So if any of you listeners have any questions, just comment down below and we'll be sure to answer them. But then a little part two, if you're curious to learn more, in addition to having questions, specifically about Wasabi and Veeam and why we're better together, do you have any recommendations on where we should go? Because I'll plug links in the comments below after too.
Well, our knowledge base is up to date. So if folks are looking for some how-to, some cookbook type of material, right, on how to employ Veeam with Wasabi, the knowledge base has all that, right? Our
Yep.
technical team does an outstanding job of keeping those documents up to date. And then I definitely would tell you, check out the Veeam community. It's community.veeam.com. There are a number of great folks in there who can help you out if you're just kind of getting started. I know Veeam has a free trial of their software available. We have a 30-day free trial available, and it's unlocked, right? You can do anything and everything you want with the Veeam software and the Wasabi cloud storage. So you want to get in, do some test backups, do some endpoint backups, do some NAS backups. It's all possible, right? Completely unrestricted. I am noticing this comment from Nolan. Nolan says, hey, checked it out yesterday, shocked at how fast it was. Well, I'm not shocked. We know how fast it is, but appreciate the recognition. And then I see Max Mayer here. Thanks for chiming in, Max. I know Max is one of the Veeam Vanguard because we've communicated and actually have a conversation going on the community page. He put the link in for the Veeam community. Appreciate you putting that in, Max.
Thank you, Max.
Yeah, so we definitely have a great relationship with the Veeam Vanguard. All the Veeam Vanguard have Wasabi accounts. Not that I want to bias them towards Wasabi, but I do, and they love it, right? And they're very vocal in what Wasabi can do, and they're very transparent in what it doesn't do, which I haven't seen much of, if anything at all. So that's good.
Beautiful.
So shout out to the Veeam Vanguard. Shout out to Rick and Christina and what they do with that super smart group of folks who are, Veeam experts and Veeam evangelists.
Definitely. All right. Well, Drew, that's the last of my questions. Do you have anything else quick to add before we wrap it up?
I would say that this really, I think, to me, symbolizes a tipping point in terms of the recognition of object storage as a first-class citizen. We've also got friends over at Object First. Congrats on your launch. They are an on-prem hardware object storage that supports Veeam. And I expect they're going to get some tremendous pickup here because of the fact that they can use the same immutability, the same security for on-prem storage, right?
Definitely.
So yes, I'm biased. Yes, I think, you could do it all in the cloud, but I'm very realistic that, in larger scale, higher performance environments, there's always going to be a hybrid approach. So we'll just leave it at that. And I'll just reiterate what I said a moment ago, right? If you want to get the best experience with V12, absolutely grab a copy and sign up for a 30-day free trial for Wasabi. If you're doing a big POC for your company, for your organization, you need more time, just shoot a line to shoot a line to support@wasabi.com. Tell them you need more time, drop my name, and we'll be sure to help you out, get you an extension if you need it. But yeah, I know POCs are hard to get done in 30 days. So let us know. We'd be happy to help you out.
All right. Well, this was awesome. Drew, thanks for coming on to celebrate V12 with me today. But that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, everyone who tuned in to watch, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Drew.
Take care.
Bye.